Good afternoon and welcome to the latest episode of Tom Talk Live. It's finally Rangers hockey season edition. I want to do a Tom Talk shout out to Harold Pellow and Associates. HPA is a multidisciplined consulting firm with a staff consisting of engineers, planners, land surveyors, and landscape architects. HPA provides clients with the highest quality consulting services by offering innovative solutions on time and within budget. For more information on Harold Pellow and Associates, please visit hpellow.com today. We have events coming up. Annual Newton Fall Festival and Car Show will be held on Sunday, October 13th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. The annual Halloween Parade will be held on Thursday, October 31st. Flags of Honor will be held here at Town Hall on Saturday, November 9th, and the annual Holiday Parade will be on Saturday, November 30th on Spring Street. In the last episode of Tom Talk Live, we had our great County Sheriff, Michael Strada. Today, we continue our flagrant attempt for high ratings, social media influence, and unlimited road paving and sidewalk projects by interviewing the man who has been the water engineer for the town of Newton for many years, our good friend Dave the Rave Simmons. Great to have you on our program today, Dave.
Thank you for inviting me.
Dave didn't know this was going to be live. So, and tell us, what do you do for a living?
Basically, I'm a professional engineer, land surveyor, professional planner, and water system operator.
And how long have you been doing these things? Very bright light. Thank you, Kat. And what did you do prior to this? Or is this from birth?
I started with Harold Pellow and Associates in July of 1977. So I'm working on my 48th year. And prior to that, I spent 4 years out at Lehigh University to get my Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering. And prior to that, I worked for my dad in the lumber and fuel oil business.
Great. And how did your upbringing impact the choices you made with your education and career?
One of the things that my family did was develop a lake in Wantage Township called Simmons Lake. And part of that development involved constructing the road and infrastructure, including a public water system to serve the homes. And I was only about 10 years old at the time, but my job after school was to go over, put the gaskets in the coupling for the water main. So I got involved with that at an early age, and I really enjoyed it. So when it came time to figure out what I wanted to do, I tried to find a career that emulated that type of work, and civil engineering came to my mind.
Great story.
And that's how I got there.
Did not know that. Great story. If you could go back in time and give advice to the younger version of Dave, what advice would you give and why?
I'd still say work hard, don't give up, but I'd also say don't forget to, along the way, stop and smell the roses, because I think it's really important is at the end of the day, make sure you appreciate everybody that did everything to help you and enjoy their time with you as well.
What do you consider to be your greatest career or life achievement?
I would say family. I work hard and we've had a lot of good projects throughout the years, but at the end of the day, it's the people that support you and are there for you all along the way, help you through school, help you make life decisions. They're the important ones in my life.
And if I could give you a do-over, what would be the one project, life decision, or choice you made that you would do over and why?
Probably along the same lines. I'd take more time just to enjoy life a little bit more. I like to go boating. I go up the Hudson River, I go up the canals, and I've been doing that in recent times, in recent years, but I do a little bit more of it a little sooner.
Is that like Newburgh, West Point, like that quadrant?
Exactly. I've been from Newburgh all the way up to Troy, New York, getting the Champlain Canal, go all the way to Whitehall, Lake Champlain, and I've been to Chambly, Canada.
Wow.
And this is in a 17-foot boat.
Wow.
That's 58 years old.
Jeez, that's great.
Yep.
What was the most challenging experience you went through in your life and how did you persevere?
Probably and unfortunately when my dad passed away unexpectedly. And it was difficult because no preparation for it, it just happened. The good part is he didn't suffer, but all of a sudden, in addition to working at Harold Pellow and Associates, I was responsible for carrying on the family's water business. So it was a two-job experience, and luckily I had a lot of good people to assist me that had worked for my dad, and I was able to surround myself with a really good team of people. And some of those people have been with me over the last 25 years, even till today. And that's how I persevered, one step at a time, keep calm, one task at a time, and work it out.
All right, tell our viewers, what's a typical day like for you in the office? What's your day look like? What do you do? What are things you have to manage on a day-to-day basis?
I usually get to the office around 7:30 in the morning. First thing I'll do is check emails and voicemail, see if there's anything on there that's really critical and urgent, especially during the construction season if people need decision to keep going. After that, I'll go in the back with the staff and see if they've got any questions on the drafting or anything else on a project that they're working out to help them with direction. Then I'll sit back down and I'll start to work on some of my reports and projects. That'll take place mainly late morning, early in the afternoon. Then later in the afternoon, I'll start to get ready because usually I have meetings at night, be it a planning board, utility board, town council meeting, make sure I've got everything ready for that. Around 5 o'clock, go grab some dinner. About 6, 7 o'clock, whenever the meeting starts, come over here. And some of the meetings will go, say till about 8 o'clock at night. Some of them go till midnight. And whatever we have to do, we have to do. We get it done. We get up at 6 the next morning and start it again.
Understood. All right, who's the client base of your firm? Who do you serve?
We don't do private work. We serve about 15 municipalities, some larger, some smaller. We also do work for the counties of Sussex and Warren, and we do work for the New Jersey Department of Transportation as well.
And since you started your career several years ago in the world of civil engineering and all the things you're involved with, how have things changed, or are they the same?
They are certainly not the same. When I was home summers between years at college, I worked for Delaware Valley Associates in a field crew. And at that time, we would go out and survey, turn angles with a traditional transit, measure the distances with 100-foot steel tape, cut the brush. That's how we did it. Now today, when they go out, you have what they call a total station, which is all electronic, and it basically measures the distances and angles in one felt swoop. Plus, you've got the advantage of the satellites for GPS that give you coordinates where you are, and all that is a result of all the increase in technology. With regards to drafting, when I first started in '77, it was all hand drafting with what they call Leroy letter set, letter by letter. Today, 99.9% of the maps are done by CAD on computer, and you can generate that information in seconds.
And I'm sure you've had all kinds of interesting projects in all these towns and the counties. What are some of the more interesting or different projects in Newton or elsewhere that you were involved with? What kind of stands out as, quirky, different, challenging?
Probably the one that meets all that criteria was for the town of Newton, and it happened in, August of 2000. There was a rainstorm that came over Sparta Mountain, and it hovered and stalled over Glen Road area and dumped about 12 to 14 inches of rain in a few hours. And it basically destroyed about a mile of Newton's water transmission mains. There had to be a solution for emergency, an intermediate, and then a long-term solution to restore water service to the town of Newton, because eliminating that mile of transmission main severed the good folks in the town of Newton from their water supply. So the emergency immediate was tankers into town to keep everybody going for the time being. The second solution, the intermediate one, was a combination of work between the folks in Sparta Township and the town of Newton, where over by the intersection of 181 and 517 in Sparta, that's where Sparta's transmission main and Newton's transmission mains crossed. And as a result of everybody cooperating, we were able to construct an interconnect between the two and get the state to allow Sparta to turn on their Commerce Park wells and supply the town of Newton for about a year and a half with temporary water, while a long-term solution was worked out to replace those mains. And over that year and a half, we worked with the town, the county, the state. Everybody was cooperating to the point where they were able to come up with plans and reconstruct about a mile of 20-inch ductile iron main in Sparta Glen to restore water service. That was a cooperative effort on everyone's part, and they all stood up to the challenge and made the day happen.
When people turn on their faucets in Newton, let's talk a little bit more about where does the water come from and how does that all work?
Okay, this starts back in 1895. basically the town purchased property, and on that property in Sparta is a body of water known as Morris Lake. They purchased roughly about 500 acres. And Morris Lake is probably one of, if not the most pristine watershed in the state of New Jersey, because you control all the area around it. And water from that body of water today is pumped out of the lake and goes into the Newton water treatment plant, where it's filtered and chlorinated and other treatment processes happen to it. From that point, it runs in two transmission mains, a 10-inch main and a 16-inch main, that flow down through the Glen, through Sparta Township, through Andover Township, and ultimately end up in Newton, roughly by where Thor Labs is by Diller Avenue. That all flows by gravity. It travels roughly about 8 miles. After it gets down to that point, it flows through the distribution system in town, ultimately up High Street, and ends up in the 2 million gallon concrete tank just behind the ice skating pond up on High Street. There's also a brick building next to that tank that basically takes water from that tank, repressurizes it to send water to the higher elevations, like the hospital, Barn Hill, the nursing homes, that type of thing. So it's about a 140-year-old system. Some parts are obviously newer than others, but it's really a blessing for the town of Newton for their water supply.
And what do you think makes Sussex County a great place to work or volunteer?
I think the sense of community. As I said, I've lived in 1H Township all my life, except when I was away at school. And it's interesting for me because, as I said before, we do work for a lot of different towns. And as we go from project to project from different municipalities, a lot of times people will say after I introduce myself, geez, we knew your dad or we knew your uncle. And all of a sudden you've got a nice working relationship with those people. And it always makes it a pleasure, especially when they say, I remember when your dad did such and such for the fire department or the town. And it's a really heartwarming thing for me.
Are there other engineers or engineering firms that you admire? Who inspires you to be your best?
Well, I have to tell you that when you're doing an engineering project, a lot of times, a lot of the parts of it are very analytic. 2 + 2 = 4, it's black or it's white. But there's times when it's in that gray zone and you have to use engineering judgment to make a decision. And one of the things I think of when I get to that gray zone, what would Harold do? And I say to myself, okay, he looked, number 1, is it safe? Number 2, will it work? Number 3, is it cost efficient? And number 4, can you actually build it? Is it constructible? And you go through those questions to yourself and you come up with an assumption and a reasonable judgment on what to do. So Harold is my man.
That's great. All right, some fun questions before we wrap up. If aliens landed in front of you and in exchange for anything you desired, offered you any position on their planet, what would you want and why?
I'd want to be their water operator because no matter what planet you're on, you're going to need water.
That's right.
And it seems to be a fairly secure position.
Fair point. If you had to be shipwrecked on an island, but all your human needs were taken care of, what 2 items would you want to have with you and why?
If available, I'd want a cell phone. I like communication. And I think I'd want a companion. I would hate to end up like Tom Hanks in Castaway, calling a volleyball Wilson for the rest of my life.
Good movie.
Yeah.
Favorite cartoon?
Sunday mornings, Dick Tracy.
Favorite food?
Steak.
Favorite movie?
Shawshank Redemption.
Favorite superhero?
Superman.
Favorite sports team?
Yankees.
Musical band or act?
I remember when they were on the Ed Sullivan Show, the Beatles.
Tell us what you love about the town of Newton.
I always say I want to do this and make sure the good folks in the town of Newton are taken care of. And I really mean it. They are good folks. As I've worked over here, going on 48 years now. The people over here have always been very kind to me. They've always worked to get it done. They're a very productive town. And I think they follow the motto, failure is not an option. And we try and get it done and do a good job for them.
Great. All right, any exciting current projects you're working on for the town? Anything interesting we can share with the group?
You know, one thing we're working on, and I really should say the Newton Water Department's working on, we came up with bids for materials for the Mason Street water line, Mason Avenue water line, and also New Hampshire Street water line. And the Newton Water Department and the DPW are really doing a great job. They've just about completed the Mason Avenue water line project now. And by way of example how good an improvement it is, before they did the water line, they used to get about 100 gallons a minute out of a hydrant because it was an old main. I talked to the Newton Water foreman this morning. They got 1,400 gallons a minute now out of the new hydrants. So they're really great improvements that the town is building on for its residents. We're also working on finishing up from the planning board standpoint some major projects with Thor Labs, Quantum Realm. That's going to be a good addition to the town, and they're putting in some additional features, for example, with the bike path to make the crossing so we can keep the bike trail going and make a good recreational facility out for the town. Plus, we're getting some other projects in when we go to the utility board, helps with the connection fees for the town, with the water department and all its infrastructure. Just a lot of development that's been a big help in the past few years.
Great. All right, thank you, Dave, for being a good sport and legendary guest on Tom Talk Live.
Thanks for having me.
That's a wrap. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram for further updates on Town of Newton events, happenings, and more. Russo out.